Hello and welcome to Chargers Talk 4630. I'm Stacy and thank you for joining us today. Let me ask you before we get started to continue to get Chargers content. If I can ask you to like, share, and subscribe to this page. This way you'll be updated on anything we release, whether it be live or anything that was archived. The Chargers yesterday came off their first loss of the 2025 season under Jim Harbaugh's second year. Before we get started, the tailgate, I had a fantastic time, being out there in East Jersey. It felt like I was in LA. There was so much love and energy and a lot of confidence. And there were so many people that I've met on X and that subscribe to YouTube that I got to talk to, had some real extensive conversations about life and what's been going on with the Chargers this season. And we just had a great time having some drinks, had some good food. Everything was great. I got a chance to meet my brother Kyle D that lives out in San Diego. And we have been doing the podcast for a while, for the majority of last year. We always talked about getting together and enjoying each other's company and just chopping it up a little bit, right? Because we had been doing a podcast. I was excited to see him, and we had a couple of brews together, and I FaceTimed my wife, so he got a chance to talk to my wife, and he FaceTimed his wife, and both of the wives said at the time we called, I'm so glad that you guys finally met each other. My wife said that when I FaceTimed her, that was the first thing his wife did when he FaceTimed her. So moving forward with this game, we had a lot of confidence going into this game. Game 4, right? The Giants have a stout defense, especially on the front line. There were some people that argued that they had between the first and second best defensive front in football. And they do have some guys on there, Brian Burns and Thibodeau, Dexter Lawrence, who's a man amongst boys on that defensive line. But they kind of like underperformed this year, right? We knew that they were better on paper, talent-wise, than what they were showing in actual games. And unfortunately, they got their thing together and started looking like the defensive front that we thought they would be in the regular season. And not only that, there was a lot of tight coverage with Lad McConkey and Keenan Allen. And with the exception of Quentin Johnston, those other guys found it hard to get open most of the game. And I give a lot of credit to the Giants defensive front that was putting a lot of pressure. Justin Herbert, he threw 2 interceptions and both of them turned out to be pretty costly, right? They gave the Giants short fields a lot of times. They had momentum shifts throughout the game when they did come. One of those was by Dexter Lawrence, which set up the Giants deep in Chargers territory. And then the Giants front just got consistent pressure. Players like Abdul Carter, Brian Burns, and Kayvon Thibodeau, they helped like disrupt the Chargers passing game for most of the day. The pressure limited Herbert's ability to push the ball downfield and prevented him from making the plays that we've become accustomed to seeing, right? Left tackle, Joe Alt, he suffered a high ankle sprain early and he had to leave the game. And I'm like, I knew we are in some trouble. That kind of weakened the Chargers pass protection, especially on Herbert's blind side. The Chargers did mount a rally, but they couldn't finish it. They had their chances late, but in critical moments, whether it was third downs or clock management, the Giants defense just made enough stops. And in particular, it was a crucial sack by Brian Burns late in that drive that shut down the Chargers' final push for a comeback. The Giants made the most of the turnovers today and the field position that was given to them, and quarterback Jackson Dart, he took advantage of every opportunity. He ran for a touchdown and added another on a passing touchdown. The Giants defense was great today with that bending but not breaking, especially in key moments that helped preserve the lead. The Chargers, they had that one final chance where I really believed until then they would at least drive down close enough to get a field goal and tie the game, sending it into overtime. But they found themselves down 21-18 with under 2 minutes left. They had a chance to tie it or win it, but poor clock management again, pressure up front and tight Giants coverage just forced incompletions, right? Herbert's last throw is sailed incomplete, sealing the loss, and Joe Alt's injury and Herbert's turnovers and the dominance of the Giants defensive line and their red zone late game failures combined to cost the Chargers their 4th victory of the season. They kind of like had their way, right? I look at the first drive that they had. There was a key drop. It was a 3rd and 5 or 3rd and 6. And Lad McConkey tried to turn upfield before making the catch. And it turned out to be an incompletion. That would have been a first down. And that was the first drive of the game for the Chargers. And that would have moved the chains forward. And unfortunately, they had to punt the ball away after that. There was a couple of key drops by Lad McConkey, and we're just not used to seeing that from Lad, right? Like last year, he was a beast on the field. He was highly productive. A lot of people felt he was unguardable, the way he run routes and all. And I know there's a lot more pressure on him this season because they didn't know how good he was or how good he was going to be in the NFL after last season. Everyone is well aware of who Lad McConkey is, so he's getting doubled a lot this year, and that's opening the door for Quentin Johnston, right, to be having the kind of season he is. And sometime I'm wondering, should we be talking about Quentin Johnston as a number 1 receiver? Because everybody's going to have some drops every once in a while, including Quentin Johnston. But for the most part, he silenced his critics. Quentin Johnston has been producing every single game with a touchdown in every game. And the leap that he's taken since his rookie year, he took another leap last season, and he took an even bigger one so far this season. He's been one of our best receivers so far this season. But I have to just give a lot of credit to the Giants. The game plan, the coaches. They've been a team that's hard to watch through the first 3 games, right? But they pulled it together and they looked good against a very good team. And I'm kind of concerned a little bit now because I thought the offensive line would be the weakness of this team. However, the first couple of games, Justin Herbert was standing in the pocket like a statue sometime, 5-7 seconds with great protection. He's been carving apart defenses. But in this game, the Giants' defensive line did not allow him the time to do those Justin Herbert things that we've come accustomed to seeing. Many of the experts out there in the sports media world were saying the Chargers had a top 3 offensive line in football. And we went from losing all-pro left tackle Rashawn Slater to the season. Then we had to move Alt from right tackle to left tackle, which really weakened the right side. And then we lose Joe Alt today with an apparent high ankle sprain that probably will keep him out 3 to 4 weeks. You had last week Trey Pipkins going in and out of the lineup for most of the game with injuries. You had an issue with right guard and had to call up some people from the practice squad. And then you still got Zion Johnson is struggling and haven't been able to figure things out yet. So I'm really concerned about this offensive line, right? Because Justin Herbert has been hit maybe like 40 to 45 times in just 4 games right now. And that's just too much. And last year, we didn't see the full Justin Herbert on display because of injuries he was battling with, lower extremities, ankle, the foot injury that kept him out of preseason, a finger, he was dealing with so many issues. And this year, he was healthy for the first time in a couple of years. And the first couple of games, you've been seeing a different Herbert playing on a different level. But I don't care how good Justin Herbert is, he cannot continue to just go on and take those type of hits. The amount of hits that he's taking is very concerning. And you can see the body language. Every time he get up, he's getting up very slow and very gingerly. And sometimes, you can see his face where his face will frown a little bit. Let you know he feel that. He's getting hurt by some of these shots. And the Chargers need to do a better job at protecting Justin Herbert and giving him some pass protection. Mario Hampton, he's been the stud that I thought he would be. There were times throughout last week's game, and especially a lot in this game, where he was having some success on the ground. And there were times where your offensive line is totally depleted, and it's become difficult to hold off that dominating defensive front. And the offensive line dealing with second and third stringers weren't able to hold up, weren't able to pass protect. And there was times where I felt like they should have ran more, especially the drive after Mario Hampton ran that 54-yard touchdown. And then you find yourself in 3rd and 2. The defensive line is still sending the house. I believe you should have ran the ball there, and they dropped back looking for something deep, and Justin had to get it out of his hand and threw it low to Keenan Allen, but that wasn't who the play was designed for. The defensive line were not going to allow him the time that he needed to go through his reads and complete a big play downfield. And I thought that hurt It's only week 4. The Chargers are 3-1. I believe before the season started, if you would say after 4 games, you guys would be 3-1, we would take that. Especially it's still big that all of your wins have came in the division. So that's something that you could still hang your hat on and be excited about. And defensively, this is the first time since the 2023 season where I felt like the defense didn't bring it. Last year, even in the loss in the playoffs to the Houston Texans, the defense brought it. And they were in that game until late in the fourth quarter. And in this game, I was a little disappointed because Thule was in the backfield all day. He got a couple of sacks today. The defense was bringing it. They were bringing the pressure, but there were times where the defensive tackles, Jamari Caldwell, Tier Tart, on 3rd and 4, 3rd and 5, they were being taken off, and you were putting more pass rushers on the field, linebackers and all. Every time they took Tier Tart and took Jamari Caldwell off that line, they were soft in the middle. The pressure was coming from the edges, but the middle was left wide open. Durham was in the middle, but he falls back into coverage. Dart goes back. Thule is coming off one edge. Dupree is coming off the other edge. And what Dart did, he just seen the middle of the field open. You know, Durham moved back into coverage. The 2 defensive tackles, Jamari Caldwell and Tier Tart, is not there. So many times he was running the ball right up the middle constantly. And it's like, why do you keep taking these guys off the field? You can out-scheme your opponent, dial up the right plays at the right time, but this time the opponent got us. The head coach, Jim Harbaugh, and not making no excuses for him, I think Harbaugh did a great job coaching the game. We were in that until the final minute of the game. The Chargers had an opportunity to win on a final drive. So we always believe in Jim Harbaugh. If this game is close, they're going to find a way. They unfortunately didn't this time. But I thought the play calling could have been better. And there was too many times, and we've gotten away with it this year. We all been surprised to see Justin Herbert throwing the ball all around, because we know that with Greg Roman and Jim Harbaugh, that they have this identity where we're going to run the ball downhill, smash you in the mouth, and play defense. And so far up to the season, we've seen our team become more of pass first, run second team, which is kind of shocking to see. And Mario Hampton, he's showing why he was drafted 22nd in the draft. He's showing why he's a big play running back. He's showing all the skill. He's showing that he can run hard. He can run between the tackles. He could bounce to the outside and turn upfield and get big plays. He could line up as receiver. And you're starting to see over last week and this week, they're starting to ease him in a little bit more into the game plan. He was kind of on full display today. I just think you need to use more of him, especially in a game like it was today where the offensive line had a hard time in pass protection. You need to use him more. And when they did use him, he made the most of his opportunities. I think he finished with 129 yards rushing on 12 carries. But if you're a Charger fan, you're excited of what Amari and Hampton is showing right now. And I'm sure, look, they'll figure it out. I know Jim Harbaugh said after the game that he was very concerned about the offensive line, and we can't allow Justin Herbert to continue to get hit like that. So I know Joe Ortiz don't like to trade away his draft capital and all, and I know that offensive lineman is hard to find, right? But if you look around at some of the teams like the Jets, or I'm just using this for example, the Carolina Panthers, some of these teams that are struggling and you know they're not going to make the postseason, you have to give the GM a call and say, hey, look, if you got a really good right tackle, you have a really good guard or a really good center, and he's due a lot of money, or you have a big contract already and you know you're not going anywhere and you need to trim the salary cap number and get it down a little bit, well, I think you should be willing to give up a 3rd rounder or something if you can get a better than average lineman, because the Chargers need it. You can't keep going this way. I know injuries is a part of the game, and I'm not using it or making up any excuse for it, because the other 31 teams, they also have injuries that they have to deal with. So nobody's going to feel sorry for us, anything like that, but they can't win with what they got. They can't get better at pass protection with what they have right now. So I think they need to make a trade and make a trade ASAP. And you got to give up a couple of picks. I know Ortiz don't like doing that. He came from under that Baltimore Ravens tree where they like to get compensatory picks. They like to just build through the draft and sprinkle in a couple of free agents here or there. But right now, if you believe that you have a team that can go deep into the playoffs, you have to stop this bleeding right now. And you have to give Justin Herbert a chance. And that's just not me making excuses for Justin Herbert. That's for any quarterback in the National Football League. If they don't have time to throw, they don't have time to step up in the pocket. If they don't have time to go through their reads, if your offensive line is constantly being pushed back and being dominated by a defensive front, your quarterback will not have any success at all. And neither will your running game, because that's what a bad offensive line do. It affects the run and it affects the pass. So we know that that needs to be fixed. Listen, Charger fans, the sky's not falling. We 3-1. There's teams that are 0-3. A few teams might be 0-4 or 1-3. So we knew that we weren't going to go undefeated. We know it ain't going to be pretty every single week. Sometime play calling going to be a little suspect. Everybody ain't going. It was one of those games where couldn't hardly nobody get open. You got to just give credit to the Giants defense. They were blanketed for pretty much of the day. And even the times where Justin Herbert did have a lot of time in the pocket, he just was holding on to the ball because there was nowhere to go. And I just give a lot of credit to the Giants. They had a great game plan. They attacked. And I say the only thing that I can ask for as a fan, for the team to play hard, show fight, show grit, don't give up, don't quit, play to the whistle, play for 60 minutes. We've seen games that look like it was out of control. We didn't watch games right there. We turned it off at halftime and said this game is over. And then you turn it on ESPN the next day and wonder, how the hell I missed a good game? How did they come back from that? We've seen it happen before. And that only happens when you don't quit and you don't give up, when you keep playing hard and you play to the whistle and play for the man to your left, play for your teammate to the right, fight hard for 60 minutes. Great things happen a lot of times when you don't quit and you continue to play hard. And the Chargers did that today. You had an opportunity still to make a play or two and win the game. Hell, that last drive, Justin threw across the middle, maybe like the 40-yard line. Had he made that completion, you might have been close enough for Dicker to kick a field goal and tie the game and send it overtime. So, you just never know. But you play hard for 60 minutes to give yourself a chance to win the game. And I can live with the results. They played hard. They played for 60 minutes. I don't jump the gun, and when things ain't going good, I don't get crazy and the sky's falling and screw this, screw that, get him out of here, fire the coach. I don't do that. Jim Harbaugh, one thing he has shown is when everything starts breaking down and feel like it's not working, he never panics. He don't blink. And we had an opportunity to win a game, and Justin Herbert didn't make the plays that he needed to make, not because he isn't great. He's great. And he's going to continue to be great throughout this season. But sometimes you have to just tip your hat to the opposing team. They had a lot to do with why you couldn't execute your game plan. Sometimes we just say, we had a bad day. Sometimes I don't think you had a bad day. I just think that you both play hard for 60 minutes, and whoever make the most plays will win. Whoever execute their game plan better will win. And I think that the Giants had a lot to do with disrupting what we like to do, which is have time in the pocket and throw the ball all across the yard. And we didn't have opportunity to do that today. And my hat goes off to Jackson Dart, who gets his first win as a rookie in the National Football League. That spells bad news for Russell Wilson because and that's good for Daboll because it buys him a couple of weeks on his job. And I can see that Dart have potential to be really good in this league. And it showed today. He gave them a spark. I knew they would come out of here at MetLife and have a lot of energy and play with a lot of enthusiasm. And they did. And, for the most part, they executed and we didn't. And that's the bottom line. So Congratulations on the Giants for getting their first victory. Chargers get their first loss. They're 3-1. They got to go regroup. They got to get on a horn and call a few teams. They got to do something, not call up practice squad players. You need to do something about this offensive line. You really do. You can't let the season get away from you. You can't let Justin Herbert get hurt. You need to do something about this offensive line, and you need to incorporate Mario Hampton more than you have been in your game plan, because he's definitely a playmaker. That's all I got for you today, and thank you for tuning in. I want to again thank everybody I met at the tailgate. I want to thank all the people I took pictures with and had conversations with. A lot of those people I met on X. It's a beautiful feeling when they walk up to you and say, "Hey, I know who you are. You on X," or "I know who you are. You do that Chargers Talk podcast." That's a great feeling, man. That confirmation that you're doing something right, or doing something worthwhile, or doing something that people could appreciate. And I know that I do. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe this. And I know it's difficult for you guys to want to come on and hear what I got to say after a tough loss like that. It was a big win for the Giants, but a tough loss for the Chargers. But look, man, win, lose, or draw, we here. But I've been a Charger fan for 48 years. I'm going to always show up, and I'm always give my fair assessment. And I'm going to give credit where credit is due. Good luck with the Giants. This game is over with now. It's Monday. We're moving on to the Washington Commanders. And hopefully after that game, we'll be able to give a happy recap the way we did the first 3 games. So thanks a lot. I appreciate you guys. Always be good, be safe, and I'll catch you the next time. Thank you.